This week's Torah portion is Parshas Shlach. This week's Torah portion provides a lesson not usually focused on among the episode of the spies. After finishing the episode of the spies, God began commanding the Jewish people in a number of mitzvot and prohibiting them in a number of prohibitions. One of them discussed a case where a sin is committed by accident. The verse that talks about this accidental sin is the source of great debate. We read in this week's Torah portion, if you unwittingly fail to observe any one of the commandments that the Lord has declared to Moshe, anything that the Lord has commanded you through Moshe from the day that the Lord gave the commandment and on, through the ages. If this was done unwittingly, through an accident by the community, the whole community together shall present one bull as an offering of reach nichoach, pleasing odor to the Lord, with its correct meal offering and libation, and one goat as a sin offering. The Kohen shall atone for the entire Jewish community, and they shall be forgiven, for their sin was an error, and for their error they have brought their offering, an offering by fire to the Lord, and their sin offering before the Lord. The entire Jewish community and the stranger residing among them shall be forgiven, for the sin occurred through error. Rashi explained the transgression referred to here is idolatry, for it is naturally understood under the general term all the commandments, for which the whole Jewish community brings a bull as a sin offering if it infringes on one of them. In greater detail, the Ramban explained, and listen to this. This section is obscure in meaning, and the commentators of the plain meaning of Pshat of the Torah have mistakenly explained it as referring to an offering which must be brought by one who has unwittingly failed to observe what God has commanded him to do. Our sages said this offering applies only to worshiping idols in error, and hence has a stricter form of atonement. Ramban went on with this surprising comment. This section, according to its plain meaning, refers to the duty of one who is unwittingly an apostate, a kofar, with regard to the entire Torah, to bring an offering, such as one who goes and becomes assimilated amongst one of the nations and behaves as they do, and does not want to be part of Israel at all. This applied if it was all done in error, such as in the case of an individual, a child who was taken into captivity among the nations and grew up unaware of his Jewish origin. And listen to this, in the case of a community, if they mistakenly thought that the time of the Torah had already passed and that it was not given for all generations. How could an entire Jewish community mistakenly think that the time of the Torah had already passed? Rambam wrote, it is clear and explicit in the Torah that God's commandments will remain forever without change, addition, or diminishment. Nothing's going to change in the Torah. As God stated, all these matters which I command to you, you shall be careful to perform. You may not add to it, nor diminish from it. And what is revealed is for us and our children forever to carry out the words of this Torah. This teaches that we are commanded to fulfill all the Torah's directives forever. It is also said, if it is an everlasting statute for all your generations. A prophet cannot add a new mitzvah to the Torah. As unbelievable as the case of the entire Jewish community mistakenly think the time of the Torah has already passed is, we see it has come to fruition in our days. It is only the minority of the Jewish people who observe the Torah as it was commanded. Most Jews have reformed the Torah or given up on it completely, believing it is no longer applicable. This week's Torah portion commands the Jewish people how to walk back this mistake. What an important lesson, and one we would think really had no application, and unfortunately, we've come to see that it does. So,